My friends, good morning. Yesterday, Trump triggered an economic earthquake on a global scale. Look at the newspapers in the United Kingdom this morning. That's just the front page of that newspaper, but the others are similar, and you can see this all around the world. So Trump, with this board showing a huge number of countries, practically every country on the planet, he points to each one and its tariff. So he said, look, you impose a tariff on us, we'll do the same thing. France gets hit with 20%. In fact, the entire European Union gets hit with 20%. The United Kingdom had a bit of a privileged position at that time, only 10% I want to say, but that won't save us. Because we're in a country where energy is extremely expensive. We have paralyzing regulations and so on. With rising inflation on everything and many people losing jobs, fewer customers are spending in the economy. So in a way, 10% might be too much for this country. Now, I'm going to tell you something that nobody, well, in my opinion, of course, it's an analysis, what Trump wants to do. To understand first, let's imagine you were the president of the United States today. What would be your number one problem? What's the first problem? What would be at the top of your list? The real problem, and I think many have guessed it, is the dollar. The dollar is collapsing. There are de-dollarization movements all over the world. Russia, the BRICS, China, all of that. Everyone is pushing the dollar out a little bit. The country is very, very much in debt, and it's reaching the limit of its borrowing capacity. And if economies around the world start to drop the dollar, it will collapse. And with it, the exorbitant privilege of this currency will collapse as well. A lot of analysts and economists, including Americans, say that the dollar gives the United States an excessive privilege. That's Trump's first problem. Let's get back to the story about tariffs. What the anti-Trump people say is, well, he's going to cause inflation in the United States because, quite simply, if companies are outside the United States and want to sell their products, well, when importing them, they'll face this tariff of 10, 15, 20, 30%, depending on the destination, the origin of the goods. And while this tariff will be fully passed on to the consumer, indeed, so it's reasonable to think that the tariff will be passed on to the consumer. And I'll tell you a little bit about what Trump intends to do, in my opinion. He plans to create these tariffs, doesn't he? But he wants the producing countries, so the countries outside the United States, to be the ones who pay these tariffs. That means, for example, that he imposes a tariff on the European Union, but what he wants is for the Europeans to be the ones who pay that tariff. How? I'll tell you. Before we continue, let me show you the latest book behind me. Les Grandes Trahisons. It tells you a lot of things, including a question that is asked all the time. The great ones in such a form: why didn't the United Kingdom react for decades? I can't tell you here, but I explain it there. You can find it on Amazon. I also talk about France's gold. I talk about a lot of betrayals that are now the trademark of politics in Europe. Let's continue. How does he want to do it? I'll tell you. Let's imagine you're an exporting country. You export to the United States. You can't survive without the United States. The majority of countries in the world need access to the American market. That's a huge number of consumers who have credit cards. Many of them make a good living, and they're eager for all kinds of things. If you lose the American market, you won't make up for it with African countries or by going to the Philippines. It's not going to work. You won't find consumers who will buy from you. They won't generate as much value for you as the American consumer. The American consumer is a matter of life or death for a huge number of companies and for many economies as well. Trump is creating trade barriers. Consumers buy in dollars. Think about that now. You, as an exporter to the United States, as an economy that exports to the United States, what is your interest regarding the dollar? Do you want the dollar to go down, or do you want the dollar to increase in value? That's the question about your currency. What do you prefer? Of course, if you're an exporter to the United States, you want a strong dollar. Why? Because a strong dollar allows Americans to buy your product despite the tariffs. So let's imagine, for example, that your country, let's say us in the United Kingdom, got hit with a 10% tariff. So how can you make up for that? You can make up for that by printing your own currency and using it to buy dollars. So what you do is you offset de-dollarization to some extent. So you buy dollars. You're going to help maintain the dollar. So you're going to make it strong at the expense of your own currency, because you're going to throw your currency onto the market, aren't you? So it will tend to slip, and you're going to support the dollar. So, for example, in the United Kingdom, if the dollar rises by 5% and the pound falls by 5%, well, that's a 10% gap. That's it. It's balanced. It's done. So our interest is to see the dollar rise. It's to see Americans come here to do business, to shop here. You see? That's the thing. So what Trump does is, on one hand, he imposes tariffs. But actually, he knows it won't happen in the next 3 days. But he knows that in the long run, what will happen is that the exporting countries will end up paying for it, and then they will help him maintain the dollar. He says that we're being cheated, that we're being scammed, all of that. To finish this video, I'm going to invite you to reflect on this. I'm talking to you here. I'm using an iPhone to record. It's an American phone. It's on a stand, a kind of support that I bought on eBay, American company. It has a plastic cover. I bought it on Amazon, American company. By the way, I pay Amazon a Prime fee every year so I can get deliveries, etc. It's an American company that I pay a subscription fee to. Many people I know have a Netflix subscription. American Netflix. You are watching on YouTube. American company owned by Google, also American. I pay Google to get more space because my Gmail is full, all that. And to avoid ads on YouTube, I pay for that too. I also pay, by the way, Apple, I told you, I pay them monthly for example, if my phone breaks, gets lost, all that. Well, they replace it for me at a very low cost. So I also pay for an Apple subscription. I pay it to Google too for disk space and everything. I told you. I also pay it to Microsoft because I have an email that's based on Microsoft 365 on their cloud. So I pay them. I sometimes use it for editing my videos and all that. Sometimes I need to use the cloud, Amazon AWS. So I pay for AWS cloud too. When I look at my toothpaste, or I look at my cleaning products, my dishwashing products, laundry, all that, I look on the back and I find a little logo. Unilever and companies like that, which are American companies. The chocolate I buy was bought out. British Cadbury chocolate was bought out by American companies. I contact my family through WhatsApp. WhatsApp also belongs to an American group. I can go see them on American Facebook. I pay on LinkedIn. On LinkedIn, I also pay for a subscription so I can have premium, so I can contact people by email and all that. And I pay them a monthly subscription fee, LinkedIn, and it's also American. Should we continue the list or not? You see what I mean? It's not Trump coming and saying, yeah, it feels like you're scamming us. It feels like, you know, we can't get into your market while you come here. You sell your stuff. You cheat us. The reality is that's not true. The reality is that we are bought by the American economy. We've been bought our whole lives. We all pay subscription fees to American companies. Isn't that the thumbnail of this video? I'll edit a thumbnail in a little while. That's the program I'm going to use. Adobe Photoshop. I've been paying for years. I pay a monthly subscription to Adobe to be able to use Photoshop, right? American company as well. So actually what we're doing in Europe, since we don't create anything, because in Europe, what do? Europe, we've rolled out the tax forms, we've rolled out the climate regulations, we've rolled out the bureaucracy, the levies, all that, to the point that we're killing Europe. You notice that Europe is dying. You know it, don't you? Europe is collapsing because it can't create anything anymore. Besides, its creators, company founders, engineers, product developers, inventors, all of them are leaving for other places. They're going to the United States, they're going to Dubai, they're going anywhere they're allowed to create. Here in Europe, we're holding them back. Do you see why? Today, we're sending a large part of our economy in the form of rent, Even the medical office, I can't even get an appointment, I told you. Since 2019, it was sold to an American group. Everything actually has been sold to the Americans. And then they come and say, you know, you in Europe, I think you're scamming us. You're not being nice to us. I'm going to say, but man, wait, what have you been smoking? You see what I mean? As much as I appreciate him on some things, when he says that in Europe we're scamming him, honestly, I don't know who's scamming who. We're giving billions. Just look, do the math, please. Calculate it over a career, over a lifetime of work. How much do you pay in subscriptions just for Microsoft 365 and Word and all that? How much rent do you pay to American companies? How much do you pay over a lifetime for Netflix? How much do you pay over a lifetime for Amazon Prime? And you'll see that these are staggering numbers. We're talking about six-figure amounts. It's even more. I did the math. It's over 100,000 euros, 200,000 euros, 250,000 euros for some people that you pay in rent per person to American companies, which very often don't pay taxes here, which very often have highly optimized tax systems, all that. And I assure you that I personally pay. I'm just a content creator, right? I pay more taxes than some FTSE 100 companies or others, right? So, I mean, more like the Dow Jones, the FTSE 100, yeah, but that works too. That works too. Big companies, huge companies, international mega corporations, well, with tax optimization systems, they manage to pay 12 euros and 50 cents in taxes, and that's it. Goodbye. So you see, my friends, we're going to watch this. We're going to see what happens next. But my point is that Mr. Trump is trying to push many countries around the world to buy dollars, strengthen the dollar, and then lower their own currency so they can get around the tariffs anyway. Thank you for watching. I haven't disappeared. I'm still here. Also remember my book, Les Grandes Trahisons, is available on Amazon. How Europe is Destroyed, One Betrayal at a Time. There was an old title actually that you'll find here, but I won't say more. See you soon, friends. See you in the next video.